Now that I've done a couple of rows or rounds after making my fix, I'm happy with the result and we're properly underway. So I think it's time to darn some of these ends in. I'm going to begin with the first row of green stitches that I made, and that green stitch wanted to go in this direction. So if I take it between the layers in the appropriate direction and duplicate one of these green stitches, and then I'm going to go diagonally down and duplicate this green stitch, and then I will just take the tail off in between the layers until it will run out in between the layers, and I'll pull that tail out. So it's got two places where it's duplicated behind the scenes, and that closes and pulls the join in the right direction. Now I'm going to do the same with the second green tail, picking different stitches to duplicate behind. So I'm going to pass that one and on to the second one. In something as busy as this, no one's ever going to notice the slight doubling of stitches in this place. There's so much colour and pattern going on that no one would ever spot it. Now I've got a very long tail there, so I'm just going to stretch it out. Snip it and leave it inside. Now I'm looking for the left edge of these. So they finished, there we are, there's one. They finished on this far side, and there should be another tail relating to the second layer. It's sticking out at the front of the work, so if I give it a little tweak, I can see which stitch it's attached to, because at this end they finished after a purl on the far layer. So there's my green tail coming through. Now I can turn this over and do a very similar treatment with these two tails, and then I'm going to start thinking about these red loops I've got sticking out. Now I've got these two loops of pink, and so I'm going to cut them in the middle to give me as long a tail as possible to work with on both sides. And now I'm going to neaten those. So I have to be sure. So I'd like to be sure where the tails came from. So if I pull this orangey one, we can see that affects that stitch just there. So that's where that tail is. And the pink tail will be attached to that stitch there. So that's my starting position. And then these two That's that one. And the pink one. It's this pink stitch here. Right. These two tails are a regular change of yarns, and I would treat, there's one stitch where I've worked both colours together, then I'm going to take the two tails off in their respective directions. In fact, I'll do that before we tackle these ones. So these very short tails, I'm going to start with the shorter pair, and this one needs to go in this direction. If I was really worried about it, I could take it inside, sort of up close to that end, and put a knot in it and then hide the tails inside. But to be honest, I think I've got enough space here to duplicate 2 stitches. Now, because I don't really have any pink stitches out to the left of that one, I'm going to take this through to the other side of the fabric where I have pink stitches to duplicate. And obviously I don't want to waste any distance. I want to come through to the other side, and I'm using the eye of the needle because I don't have a very long length of yarn, and I can duplicate that orange stitch. It really won't matter that I'm duplicating an orange stitch with pink. It's all, the colours are all so mixed up together. The main thing is that it is properly secured. So I've duplicated that one, and I'm actually going to duplicate the stitch right next door because I have so little tail to work with. Pop that inside using the eye. And that's one pink tail neatened. Then I've got this orange one, and I'm going to do the same thing. Because the majority of my stitches are green on both sides in this particular area, I think I'm going to wait to do this tail and darn it in around the start of the indent of the W, and this one I'm going to go diagonally down a bit and duplicate it around here. So I'm trying to fan them out, match the colours and balance the stitches so they're happy, pull them in the appropriate direction.